Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It's Stopping Our Race 1814 0210 2022. It's Candid Expression Sunday. We have an amazing guest on the show today, as we're quite excited for her joining us on the show today. We're going to be addressing her as Lady X. As you know, today's topic is a bit of a sensitive one, but you know what? We thought, you know what? It'll be great to share this story, and I want to say a big thank you again to her for being brave and sharing an amazing story. Lady X, how are you? Welcome to the show.
Hi, good evening. I'm Lydia, and I'm doing very well. Thank you.
Fantastic. Really appreciate you taking your time to come on the show today to share your amazing story. Today we're talking about, some a form of abuse. I think I'm a bit nervous myself. What can I say? But I'm sure we'll get on with the show this evening. We're talking about a form of abuse tagged as gaslighting, and you are someone who's gone through that, and you're an amazing survivor, and you're willing to share your story to everyone as well. I want to say a big thank you again. Really, really appreciate that. So I mean, let's start off with from your perspective. I mean, what would you describe as gaslighting? What does it mean? Because a lot of people have a lot of ideas of what it actually means, but maybe not, coming from someone who's gone through it. What would you say gaslighting is?
First of all, Double Nine, thank you for having me here. And we do hope to inspire someone and help someone in such situations. So, gaslighting generally is okay when you have to question your sanity, if you ever have to ask if something did happen or not, or if a person claims something did happen and did not happen. It's like confusing reality with you know, confusing a person's judgment, a
Yeah,
person's memory. You're just it's plain confusion, really.
yeah. Just bringing confusion
That's what gaslighting. Yeah, creating confusion. Yeah,
within your within
for a
your own
person.
reality, what you think is real, and
And
an individual tries to.
what is real and what is yes, usually telling lies, denying things, and those are like examples of gaslighting or situations where you have been gaslit
Amazing.
by another person.
I mean, the description sounds so straightforward, sounds so easy to say, but the experience, I'm sure, was a challenging time for you.
Yeah, and what's most challenging about it is not actually recognizing that you've been gaslit or you are being triggered by someone else. I think that's the most difficult part. It takes a while
It takes a while, isn't it?
to
Yes.
then realize that yes, it does take a while. I guess it varies from person to person,
Okay.
but at some point you would realize that this is not real. You may realize some people don't. Some people actually
Yeah,
go
it
straight
takes a
out
while,
to
isn't
the
it?
saying.
It takes a
But
while. I mean,
thankfully I was able to realize that I
amazing.
wasn't crazy.
Of course, yes. I mean, looking back, I think you mentioned earlier, while we had a discussion before coming on the show, that you had been in this relationship,
Mhm.
for quite a number of years. We don't need to get the exact years away, but it was quite a number of years
Mhm.
where you were in that
Mhm.
relationship. Um, Initially, you
Yeah.
started off okay, but all of a sudden, things started changing, and you start having doubts in some certain areas of yourself. But I mean, when do you think it all started? When do you think it started?
That's such a tough question. Um,
Take your time, darling.
this has probably been going on for the longest time.
Okay.
Thinking back now, I remember clearly before we got married, in the relationship, there was a particular day that we had some sort of argument that was not resolved, and I didn't want to resolve it over the phone. So I was like, okay, I could just pay you a surprise visit at your office, and just say hi. And I've never been there. I don't go in your space, and that should be cool, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just to wait to resolve that argument. So I went there unannounced, just called us to come downstairs and here. But he was already downstairs, and I could have sworn that there was some dodgy. There was a woman, looked like they were coming together from the back of a car, something of that sort. So I asked, like, do you know her? Were you with her? I was like, no, no way. I've never seen her. Never. That thing kept ringing in my mind that no, there was something was wrong. But there was a look. She was looking at him.
Yeah.
So years down the line, when all of this issues unraveled, I went back and replayed. I'm like, God, I should have known. The denial looked so real. Yeah, so that was the very first, maybe the earliest one I have. But in the relationship itself, actual events that occurred, actual things, actual discussions between us, goes with, heavy denial. Like, it didn't happen. You never said that. I never said that. I've never heard that. You made that up. And I'm like, I did not make that up. So, and there are issues relating to sometimes bills, sometimes family events, sometimes, they are relating to bigger issues.
Mm.
So sometimes it's infidelity. So you start to wonder if you are crazy or
Mm.
you are actually making up those stories. So there are times you have to sit down and replay what happened in your head. But we sat together. You said this, and then I responded. But now you're telling me it never happened. So it gets to a point that you start to question your sanity, and it scares you. It scares you so much that you are just scared and confused. You feel like something is going on. Like, you literally feel like you are going crazy.
Mm. Amazing.
And there are only two of you. Like, there's no third party to actually tell you. There's no witness.
Yeah.
So it's your word against your partner's word. Yeah. So it's a bit tough.
Amazing. It is. I mean, what you just shared there, um, I can't begin to imagine how difficult it could have been. But I mean, I need to ask this question. This individual, I hope you don't mind me asking, the individual in question, how would you describe
Mhm.
the character of that individual, the behavior of that individual, in a space when it's just both of you, and outside, the home where other people are present? Is it the same kind of behavior the individual displays, or the same character? How would you describe that?
Okay, that's a very good question. So the behavior is similar, but it has its differences. So it's similar in a way that even I am part of the crowd that's being fooled. I started out being part of the crowd. Over time, the mask starts to wear off gradually, but
Mm.
I am a significant part of the crowd being fooled. So the reason why I said so is the person appears perfect, well behaved, kind, gentle, friendly, respectful. The person is that way to me as well. That's why I said I'm part of the crowd
Mm.
being fooled. However, the significant difference is that the person then, in a lighter mood, jokingly tells me and confides in me on how they fooled this person, they fooled that person, and at some point I should have realized that I'm also part of those things bothered me, like, oh, I got away with this, oh, I just said this and I didn't mean it. I said that, and I was just fanning at his ego. I was fanning at ego, and I'm like, who does this? This is also dishonest. So I start to wonder, and I wasn't even thinking in light of, oh, maybe he's doing that to me as well. But I grew more, more and more wary of such. I felt that was, how do I put it? That was simply, how do I describe it? It was lack of integrity to act that way and
Mm.
talk that way behind people's back. So I started to notice that this person isn't, crystal clear, perfect like I thought. Yeah, so that was it.
Okay. So
Subtle things like that, the way they treated others behind their back.
yeah, yeah. Okay. So what you described there was an individual who had this, amazing persona on the outside, you know, and hiding the true nature of themselves, of a liar, of a
Mhm.
deceitful person, um, as well. Okay. I'm still trying to make sense of the whole thing. It's quite disturbing as well. I mean, you mentioned earlier as well, you would get to, situations where you would sit and replay incidents that happened, and kind of like question yourself and think, did this really happen? Um, at what point did you take that bold step and think, you know what, I think there's something wrong here. I am fine. At what stage do you think, you know what, I need to make a change?
Hmm. At some point, I realized that I did not recognize myself anymore. Um, Physically, emotionally, uh, psychologically. I did not recognize. I was not the same person anymore. My sister wondered why I. She was like, I don't recognize you. My best friend did not recognize me. So I was just a different person. I used to be full of life. I used to be bubbly like a child. I constantly act 10 years younger than my real age. And that's who I am. I have fun. Maybe not, I'm not very outgoing, but I'm happy. I'm generally happy. My energy in a space is really happy. But at some point, I realized I became pessimistic. I always expected the worst. I was unhappy. I did not realize at this time that these were some signs of depression. Over time, I later saw a therapist that then told me at that time, with everything you described to me, you were clinically depressed. I did
Wow.
not know, but my outlook on life was bad. I literally used to pray to die. Like, I just did not want to wake up on some mornings, and a lot of things went wrong in my life. My health became started to deteriorate. I'd go to the hospital, and each time I was clear. So the doctor would then say, "Oh, maybe you're stressed," and it made no sense at some point. So I started to exhibit physical symptoms of pain in my back, pain in my shoulders. My shoulders were swollen, my back was swollen. So I started to see a physiotherapist. So we went on this treatment. I really don't remember what that treatment was called, but he used to measure my pain using a particular machine. And one day he said to me, I think he was just being human and he was just upset. He was like, "What is wrong with you, madam? Your pattern of pain changes every time. Clearly, this is emotional pain." And I'm like, that was the first time I would ever hear of emotional pain. I'm like, "What do you mean emotional pain? There's something else going on that you are not telling me. You come in today, we measure it is this pattern. The next time is the other pattern. If it was physiological, it will maintain the same pattern. However, I was going through a 6 week program, so it's like every week there should be an improvement. So the pain should, you know, reduce. And if it's increasing, still along the same line, same pattern. But yours is X today, Z tomorrow, something else is wrong. So that was the very first time I knew that something else was wrong. In the same time, I started having some stomach attacks, like in the middle of the night. I just wake up screaming in pain.
Wow.
Okay, there was nothing really wrong with me. So at some point, I went to the hospital, and then um, after a lot of tests, the doctor did say, okay, we're going to have to clear you for surgery. We have to remove your appendix. It seems swollen, all sorts of things at that time. So a particular surgeon saw me, and he's like a 74-year-old man, and he's like, I have spent my whole life doing procedures on patients, and I have noticed certain women of certain ages come in with all sorts of symptoms. And we clear them, oh, it's for surgery, you're removing this, you're removing that. But at the end of the day, there is a man involved. There is a level of abuse, emotional abuse. My sister was there at that conversation with me. She busted out and said, yes, she has no peace. She has no peace. Her husband gives her no peace. I'm like, why are you saying this? Stop. She's like, no, I will talk. So that was another. So he's like, in my years of experience, something else is wrong. You have to go back home and rest. I'm not going to cut you off. Something is wrong. After hearing that diagnosis, everyone that loved me was so upset. That how can he say that? You've been cleared for surgery. We will do it. We went to another hospital, got the surgery done. It was open and closed. There was nothing wrong with me, apparently. My appendix was in perfect order. It was removed, but it was in perfect order. So another indication that something else was going on. So, and it's not just, gaslighting is a form of manipulation
Yeah.
that is used to cover a lot of wrongdoings that the party is committing. Sometimes they are committing all sorts of things out there. Sometimes it's the common, what we call common is like adultery and all of that. But there's a lot more, like the person not having your back when it comes to when the matters have to do with family. Sometimes it's friends. Sometimes it's just supporting you emotionally. It's a lot of things. This person literally uses you as a shield. They do something wrong and say, "Oh, it's you," and then a lot of people just start to hate you.
Mm.
Things like that are tough to take. You just wonder. You wake up and you just wonder why someone is not greeting you.
Mm.
And this goes on and on. And the worst part is the person is even having relationships with your kids nanny, and that's about the worst. So you notice people the person you are living with hates you. Your staff that you've employed, the gate man hates you. A lot of people hate you. So this person is spreading lies about you to family and friends. And you are in the same house and you are, loving up on them and being there for them. The person ignores you. You have any personal issue. Once you discuss that issue, you are more like what do you call that? When you keep malice, the person just shuts you off
Yeah.
for as long as they feel you are still having those issues.
Oh.
So once he sees that you are happy and alive again, okay, the issues have been sort of runs away from addressing fights,
Yeah.
disagreements and stuff like that. So after a while, those things started to weigh down. I'm a very emotional person. I'm very in tune with my emotions. I'm a good communicator. I love to speak about what I'm feeling. So I'm not even getting response. In the middle of fight, this person doesn't say a word, doesn't insult me, neither does he even want to defend it. Just keeps quiet, really. And then in the middle of any argument, he just goes to bed. So you are
Wow.
there angry,
Yeah.
screaming, doing whatever, and the person doesn't say a word. They just go to bed. So
It makes it
after a
difficult,
while, you
isn't it?
start
Yeah.
getting sick. I
Yeah.
started getting sick.
I mean,
Yeah.
it makes it very difficult, isn't it? Because you're not getting that response back.
Yeah.
But
So,
I mean,
yeah.
I
So
want to
at
take
that point, I had to leave. Yeah.
yeah, I want to take you back a couple of steps. You mentioned about you had your sister who went with you to the consultation, and she was very vocal on what was going on with you at that present time because they felt
Mm-hmm.
like you changed, your persona had changed, your physical presence had changed as well. Even
Mm-hmm.
they thought maybe your mental health had been affected. But the
Yeah.
question
Yeah.
is, when you were going through all that, did you ever try to reach out to anyone, or you just felt, what, I don't want to burden anyone of my troubles? You know, did you reach out for any support then, like that initial support? I want to talk to my friends. I want to talk to my
Okay.
family. I mean, what was
Yeah,
happening
I
there?
did. Okay, so every step of the way, I confided in one person or the other. At every point, I was sort of blown away. The very first, in fact, before we got married, I noticed some things were wrong. I confided in a friend. She was like, "Oh, no, 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 this is look, it's not serious. I don't think it's serious." At very close to the wedding, at the point I told my parents, "I'm not getting married to this person." Something, there was a bit of an injustice on part of his family, and I felt strongly about it. And he stood by them. I'm like, no, this doesn't make sense. It's okay to stand by them, but acknowledge that this is wrong. So I felt that was no, let it go. I did. In the marriage, anything I said, even my sister, before things became bad, if I say, people would just blow you off and you're being too emotional. You're being too
Mm,
emotional.
mm,
Let it go. I spoke to my dad at some point. Let it go. You are being emotional. The world doesn't revolve around being perfect. People are this, people are that. You have to accommodate. So it was like I was literally always hearing that I needed to accommodate, but I was saying that for me, integrity is everything.
mm.
So if you do things that lack integrity, to me, it just shows that there are a gazillion other things wrong with that person.
Mm.
Even though I had no proof, I knew something was wrong. So the lack of actual proof and the person's wonderful, sweet persona sometimes makes it difficult to speak up because each time you speak up, every other person around you is saying the nice part and thinks that they don't really agree with what you are saying. So I did not seek professional help at that time. And I did not even understand the concept of gaslighting for a long time. Not until it was when I left, I started reading. Because I left not, I did not intend to live forever. I only wanted to step out of the situation because I was in a lot of pain. It didn't make sense anymore. I just wanted to walk out. Like, I didn't want to be in that sort of, I had migraines at the point. I couldn't even see. I couldn't watch TV. It was that bad.
Wow.
Once I step into my house, once I see that person, my body just starts to hurt. I have fever. I'm shaking. So this over time, I found out those were psychosomatic illnesses. Those are illnesses that are not, they are psychological illnesses. I did not know them. So I needed to step out. And when I did, I started feeling better. For no reason, I was just feeling better. So that triggered my research. I started reading. Initially, I thought maybe it was a mental patient or it was crazy or something. So I would read symptoms of men in their, in his age range that have mental illnesses. A lot of the symptoms actually aligned with his, to be honest. Many of the things on that list aligned with some of the behavioral traits he had.
I think you describe it
So,
as signs of a sociopath there, but I'll let you carry on.
You want me to describe some of it?
No, I mean, you can. Yeah, you're free to, but I think it aligns very well with someone.
People need to know.
Yeah.
Okay, so some of it was okay, some is a little bit personal because some of the sexual patterns were described, and it was very similar. Like, and I find it hard to say this, but yeah, just know that
you don't have to go. You don't have to go to the graphic part. Just maybe some.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Then a lot. Okay. So the other ones was the mood swings. A person is happy this minute, the next minute they are just completely reserved, not saying anything. He kept to himself quite a lot. I noticed that. It was forgetful. Was really forgetful. I don't know if that was deliberate or he just simply forgot things. He never wanted to confront situations. He would rather let everything pass. So I started reading about those behaviors and that sometimes they function very well at work, very well, but have they don't know how to, have interpersonal relationship with people. And that's true. When it's at work, it's game is tight. Like, he's not the same person. If you constantly live with him at work, you continue falling in love with him. So I started reading those things, and I'm like, okay, something is wrong here. I need to see a professional. At this point, this is not normal anymore. And it was then that I realized, at some point I read about gaslighting. I'm like, this is it. There was absolutely nothing wrong with me. All of these things were denied. So one day, an argument we had, that was the first day I had physical proof. We had an argument about a drink that was, an actual drink I bought and I did not take, but he took it halfway. And we spoke about how bitter it was, and he was like, nah, I can take bitter stuff. So maybe weeks later, I needed to, what's left of that drink, I needed to give someone that was in my house. It's a herbal drink. So I looked at it and said, oh, you almost finished this drink. And he's like, what drink? Wow. I was like, the drink you said you were taking. I was like, what drink?
Wow.
I never had that conversation with you. I have never. You are imagining it in your head. What? Okay, that day was, no, this is physical. So that was the first time I had, bigger issues have happened that I was like, oh, was I thinking it about that? But this particular one is a drink. It was on the fridge. It's been on the fridge for about a month. I bought it. I have the receipt. So
amazing.
That was it. So I realized that something was wrong.
Thank you for that. I want to go back to the point you mentioned about the family support as well, where, it's quite common. It's quite common. And I think especially around the African, should I say, culture or African family unit, where, an individual, regardless whether man or woman, cries out and says, you know what, I'm going through some certain challenges within my relationship, and you know what, I need help. But you know,
Mhm.
the response you get is, oh, you're being too sensitive, or just be patient, it's going to get better. Do you think there should be
Mhm.
more
Mhm.
education around that, where people should, possibly hear you out more, or hear the individual out more, and understand everything is not just about patience? Because if you didn't take the initial step, it could have been worse.
Mhm.
But anyway,
Hmm.
so
So I
go
think
on.
it starts with the individual going through the pain. It's very important that we as adults are well informed on our emotions, our physical well-being, our mental well-being. So if what I know now, I knew then, the minute you begin to manipulate me, I would immediately. I don't even need a third-party confirmation for me to give it to you and cut it off and have a solid argument. So as much as I love to criticize some of the things that they did and stuff like that, I had no real solid argument. I would say I think. Do you understand?
Mm.
Not like the day I said. So sometimes we expect people to just trust us. But what if they are trusting us? Their trust in us ends up ruining our own lives. What if we were actually so sensitive? So it goes both ways. I think people, family and friends should try and do a better job hearing people out. While you yourself, you have the responsibility of understanding your situation better and consistently looking out for yourself, consistently asking the right questions, and stop listening to another person's narrative of what they think you're doing. Like for the longest time, I was listening to this person thinking I'm always forgetting stuff or I'm making up stories. But I had to be responsible when I realized that I'm losing myself here and nobody's
Mm.
going to come and save me. So you are going to have to understand that nobody is going to save you. And that's my mantra till today.
Mm.
Every time I'm in a fix, I remember nobody is coming to save me. And I get up and go.
Amazing.
So I think that's what we need to emphasize.
Yeah.
Love thyself.
Amazing. Okay. I mean, I really, the gaslighting bit. You mentioned that it would made you think there was, you had some mental illness and all of that, but you realize that actually there's nothing wrong with you. That makes me to think that individuals
Mhm.
who perpetrate the act of gaslighting others possibly have some sort of mental
Mhm.
disorder, because the description you've given us today, I do apologize. But the description you've given us today makes me think of a sociopath, because you talk about someone who lacks empathy
Yeah.
for others, has an impulsive behavior, attempts to control others, with
Yeah.
threats or aggression, using a bit of intelligence, which you mentioned he's very hardworking at work, he's on point at work, using intelligence, charm, or charisma to manipulate others as well. And also lying for personal gain. I think that just sums it all up, isn't it? Because I
Mhm.
was just taking notes when you're just saying all of that. It just points to someone who's a sociopath as well. You know, and it could be quite dangerous to live around those individuals. I mean, I think you're 100% right. No one can save you, and also people around us also need to be able to understand. When an individual reaches out to you, this is one of the reasons we're doing this program today, because we want people to understand that there's such a thing as gaslighting. She described an individual whose persona is like so amazing on the outside, but he's like a danger to anyone's mental health. So it's hard because she's not searching
Mhm.
for proof, to say, what, I'm telling you, this is what happened. But someone has to say, nah, you're overreacting.
Yeah. Yeah.
We get this all the time,
Uh-huh.
as well. But I mean, from your point of view, what do you think his goal was on the gaslighting journey?
Sorry, I didn't get that. I did not
What
hear
what
you.
what do you think his goal was? Do you think he had a goal in mind that he constantly went on, you know, you know, behaving in this manner?
Yeah, definitely had a goal. So, while I'm not exactly sure of what the goal is, looking at the big picture, I realized that we have really opposite personalities. And uh, over time, I understand now that every time you dump down and you're in a relationship with someone that cannot mentally, uh, that are not mentally at par with you. And when I mean mentally at par, I mean, maybe in terms of drive, acumen, and all that,
Mm,
they are going to have to dump you down. They are going
mm,
to have to dump you down by any means necessary to ensure that they are, they take their rightful spot. So that's my own, summation. So if a person's mental capacity is, for instance, maybe 60%, and they're with someone that is 90%, for for them to have any sense of security, I'm gonna have to dump your sensibility down to at least 59%. So
yeah.
in that process, everything necessary will just, without even, I don't think it's planned. All of the advices will come out to do that. The ones that have those, the sociopaths, they'll gaslight you, manipulate you, they'll do every single thing. It's just a psychological manipulation to be on top.
Mm,
So at the end of the day, you start doubting yourself, you start feeling less, you start feeling ugly. I even thought I was fat. I thought I was really fat then. He would, make snide comments about my weight and stuff like that. So after a while, you start feeling less, and you now need that person to pump you up. It's like you're squeezing someone to just give them a little bit of of air later, and that little breath becomes wonderful because
amazing.
you gave them, and they become grateful to you.
Mm,
It's sort of colonization.
it is.
It's really difficult to understand,
It is.
but what I think is, that's what I think. You don't dumb down. Every time you do, that's what's gonna happen.
Amazing. But the good news is today you are free from the shackles of a sociopath who has been gaslighting you,
Yes, I
and you're able to
am
share
absolutely
your
free.
story as well. I mean, for anyone listening out there, might be thinking, "Oh my gosh, I'm feeling this. Oh my word, I'm experiencing this, or I've experienced it, or I am experiencing this as well." How do you fight gaslighting? How do you fight? What would be your advice to them to fight the gaslighting behavior from anyone they're with at the moment? How do you fight it?
Okay, so evidence is everything. You have to ensure that you get physical evidence, and ensure that it's not, your explanation of the situation is no longer all in your head, because
Mm,
that's what they want you to think. So and I want to, before I talk about that, I want to expatiate a bit more. So these things go from telling a person telling lies, a person withholding, whatever from you, if it's love, money, whatever they have in their possession, countering your memory of certain events. I've explained that, diverting attention, trivializing things. You come up with something you think, or an emotion. They're like, oh, no, 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 you're being too sensitive. They apologize every time you get into any trouble. They get into any trouble. They apologize. They can even prostrate for you. That happens a lot of times. Prostrate, cry, all
wow.
of those things. Anything to your emotion, yeah. To a point where you feel like, oh God, am I Jesus? Like I can forgive now. So they constantly play on it. So now, dealing with going to your question now. To deal with this, you have to have physical evidence. In fact, that is, I can call that a singular most important. So this person now, in dealing with this person, I do not take phone calls from him. I insist on emails. I insist on documentation. I'm not going to engage in, now this is extreme, but in a marriage, try your best, or a relationship, to find physical evidence. Could be in the case of the bottle that I said, could
Mm,
be recordings. Just make sure you have something to remind them. They know that they're now caught. So they're going to have to straighten up, or, walk out. Evidence is everything. And you then can convince people when you have evidence.
yeah, yeah, you're right there.
Then you also need to be aware of um, manipulation, manipulative statements, and any of those things, immediately you counter it very, you don't let it slide. Immediately you counter it. Educate yourself on emotional well-being. Just be very informed. So as anything weird is happening, you catch it quickly, and
Amazing.
you address that specific issue. That's what I think.
I could agree more as well. I mean, we talk about the effects, or you talked about the effects of the relationship, the gaslighting as well. You talk about the physical effects it had on you, and also the mental issues you had to go through. I mean, looking at this, they seem like very long term, um, effects that, if not addressed quickly, could deteriorate into something really bad. I mean, you're talking about anxiety, depression, and it's actually a psychological trauma as well. But what are the steps in healing from all this effects of gaslighting?
Hmm. First of all, ensure that you're far away from that person. Ensure that you're far away from the person for the longest time, as long as you are not over it yet. You need to seek professional help. There is no true way of dealing with it if you can't seek professional help. Well, from my own perspective, because let me say, how did I deal with it rather than how should you? Okay. So how did I deal with it? First of all, I ensured I stayed far away from the person and limited any physical contact. I ensured that everything was now documented. I have no verbal conversations. It's always recorded, preferably email. I ensure that block them off my phone. I ensure that I grew closer to God because I just felt worthless, to be honest. So to find that self worth back, the very first stage was to go back to God. I started reading scriptures night, day. I fasted quite a bit. So I started feeling that connection back to God. And not that I wasn't praying then, I was. But now I started praying and, reading some of the prophets that have gone through a lot. It gave me peace that, I'm loved. Those people, those prophets were loved by God too, so I'm loved. And then I sought professional help, and the amazing doctor made me understand why I was no longer in a war zone. He said, because every time I saw that particular person, I started having physical symptoms, sweating, temperature, and stuff like that. And there was even okay, so it became bad. It became so bad that if a person told a lie against me, I would start having physical symptoms. Maybe the morning after, I would start having a fever. I would start falling ill. Like my body instinctively remembered all of the lies, all of the deception. That was how bad it was. So I needed professional help to get through that bit. And my doctor walked me through the process. I am much better now.
Amazing,
So
amazing,
those are the
amazing.
steps I can advise. And you need family support. I had a lot of support. My family constantly rally around me, show me they love me, and I feel very special all the time.
Amazing. You are very special, Lady X, as well. You are very special, and we do appreciate you sharing your amazing story with us as
Thank
well.
you.
The phone lines are open. It's 074 956 36899. That's 074 956 36899. You can send in your questions as well by WhatsApp or by WhatsApp as well if you do want to ask questions live on air as well. If you're calling from out of the UK, all you need to do is just add plus 4474 956 36899. That's 074 956 36899. So, I mean, Lady X, looking back now, you've come through this amazing journey. You've done really well. You've come out stronger. You've been able to talk about it and even advise individuals about your experiences. But looking back, is there anything you think you could have done or changed to change the outcome of this whole journey you've been on? Or anything you would like to have changed if you could do that?
Sometimes I wish we had gone to therapy together. Sometimes I wish I I could have spotted these things much earlier and persuaded him to make changes. But sometimes I wish. I don't know if there's anything I could have done. I don't know. a person's personality has been formed from
Mm,
childhood sometimes.
mm,
Sometimes they learn these things from their parents. So it's even difficult for them to begin to see. So the truth is you cannot change a person until they are ready to change. So I could only have influenced, I could have possibly influenced change, which is what I thought I was doing when I left, but I think the issue even became worse. So I I can only wish I had done a few more things. I do not know that there's anything I can do. I can change it because sometimes people don't even want to change those. They believe that's what helps them get by in life. So how do you take away a person's bread and butter?
mm. Amazing.
They're not going to let you take it away. Yeah.
Amazing. I mean, you're quite right there. You know, you made a very great point there. That it could be something that has been, you know, they've seen from the parents or from the background, and it's kind of like been instilled into
Yeah.
them from child, but and it's going to be quite difficult to change their direction or how they see things
Mm-hmm.
as well. I mean, we described the social path uh, characteristics there, and it seemed to fit perfectly as well. So, I mean, that would have been quite a challenge for you, except you'd have to go to the medical school and get a PhD and start becoming a psychologist as well. But anyway, I mean, I want to say a big thank you because it's been amazing having you on this show this evening. I think a lot of people um, possibly are not aware that gaslighting is something that actually exists. They might have been going through it, in the past or presently. So it's great to hear from someone who's been through the journey and come out a bit stronger, and also looking back, and I can look back and say, you know what, I'm a survivor. I'm doing great things. I'm trying to impact people's lives as well. I mean, I couldn't say thank you
Mm-hmm.
enough as well. But I mean, what advice would you have for any ladies out there listening to you right now, saying, Lady X, what can I do? Am I? There's
Okay.
still because I think
Okay.
there are a couple of stages before you realize whether you're in a gaslight or you're in a gaslighting relationship or a relationship where there's gaslighting. There are different stages, isn't there?
Mm-hmm.
I think it doesn't just happen one time, but there's a stage, isn't there? There's a stage of everything until the point where you think, oh my gosh, I need to get out of here. So, what would you
Okay.
say to ladies maybe in the different stages of that type of relationship?
Of the relationship. So, whatever the stage of the relationship is, um, integrity it should not be taken lightly or say, yeah. Every time you feel like a person is exhibiting traits of lack of integrity to other people, you begin to watch it. Watch it clearly. There are other things they are doing wrong. There are a lot more things they're doing wrong. Now, with specific reference to gaslighting, when a person says something untrue, okay, so there's a third, there's intuition. A woman's intuition is very, very strong. So for me, one of the things, one of the easy ways of finding this out is the universe around you tells you something as a woman. I don't know if that's the same way for men. You would hear the voice, that's odd. You will hear that's odd. It may be said in a different language to you, but for me, that's odd. Something will not fit right. Once you catch that something doesn't fit right, somebody is trying to gaslight you, telling you something that did not happen, or, instead of you questioning yourself, just know that something is not right. Patiently watch. I don't think you should, don't react immediately. Patiently watch that person, and next time they do it, immediately counter, not in a very argumentative way, but counter immediately. Aha, no, this happened, that did not happen. This is, and if possible, ensure that you have evidence for them. So to, counter what they are saying. After a while, they are going to have to decide if they want to continue in that relationship or not. You may not have to even go through all that pain. They will get frustrated with being caught consistently. So every time the universe is telling you, or the intuition that God has put inside us is telling you that something is wrong, watch and try to unravel things yourself. Be more conscious and aware. of what's going on. Just the
Amazing.
bottom of it.
That's such a
We
great
would
advice there.
eventually find out.
Yes, that's just a great advice there. I love that advice as well. I mean, Lady X, I want to keep you here and talk and talk because I think it's been so amazing talking to you this evening as well. And it's kind of opened, my eyes to other things as well. Because also, even if you're listening to us right now, and you're not in a relationship where there's gaslighting, you could know someone, or you could come across an individual who's come to you and said, I'm feeling this way, I'm feeling a bit down, or I'm mentally, tired because of this, relationship I'm in. This guy's doing this, is doing that, or this lady's doing this, is doing that, and you say to them, no, you're the one, or you say, be patient. I think you should just take them in and listen to them because they might be crying out for help. In this case, we are thankful that Lady X was able to come out of this on her. Some individuals we've heard or seen have suicidal thoughts. She even mentioned it that she did. And some go through with it as well. At some point, an individual would need that help. You say, what, I need to talk to someone. But if you're that person they rely on and you fuck them off, you could live to regret that. So I think we need to change our mindset.
I agree with you.
On how we
I agree with you.
And when individuals come to us and say things to us, if we don't have the capacity to have a conversation, suggest a professional. Suggest they get some professional help as well. But just to say, what, it's you, be patient. It might be you. They don't want to hear that because it's just like you're digging the hole deeper and deeper. But again, as Lady X mentioned as well, if you're in a gaslighting type of relationship, only you can save yourself. You have to take charge. You have to take that step. You have to believe in yourself as well. It's hard. Don't get me wrong. As Lady X has really described to us this evening, it can be a huge challenge. But you just have to remember, only you can save yourself. Only you can take that initial step. The individual in question isn't one that's got the problem. You don't have any mental issues. They are the ones that got mental issues because they're a sociopath, or you can describe it as a narcissist as well. It is a very close description as well. So again, you take charge. I hope, from Lady X's story today, you learn from that, because I tell you, she's doing amazingly well now. She's creating amazing things. She's doing really well. She's looks amazing. Always happy, always a joy to be around as well.
Thank you.
So I hope we've been able to touch one or two people there as well, and also hopefully change the mindset of anyone listening regarding when people come and tell you about their relationships as well. Lady X, it's been amazing having you on the show this evening. I am looking forward to maybe having you back at some point and, giving us a recap, or maybe even have another guest who maybe has experienced a gaslighter or is still going through that issue as well. It's been amazing. It's been amazing having you on this evening.
Thank you for having me.
You're most welcome.
Double time.
Thank you very much. And have a wonderful week ahead. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you again. But in the meantime, stay locked on, stay locked in. It's Sunday. It's Candid Expression Sunday. As you know, we always still have some amazing vibes coming your way as well. Lady X, thank you again for coming on the show. It's been amazing having you on.
Thank you very much. Double night.